So, welcome back to the August 365 Pay It Forward Talks here at Life Coach University. I'm Norma Frahn, and I'm a life coach for weight loss. And I'm also a woman who's lost over 100 pounds at age 50. And I reversed my type 2 diabetes after learning how to stop dieting and lose weight my way. So, as a reminder, the only cost of admission to our Pay It Forward Talks here at Life Coach University is your promise to pay it forward with some act of kindness. So, as you're listening today, think about how you might do that. All right, let's dive in. Today is day 8 of Weight Loss Your Way. And if you've been with me since the start, since August 1st, you've heard me talk about things like normalizing food and emotional eating and creating these tiny actions or habits. And these are all important components of discovering your way and your process to lose weight. But here's what I want to remind you of today. Weight Loss Your Way is a methodology, it's not a diet. It's about creating a weight loss process that works for your unique life. So, gone are the days of looking to someone else for the food list or the rules of engagement. You get to create the rules now. Isn't that exciting? Or do you feel a little bit of overwhelm creeping up on you because you don't know exactly what to do? Well, let me tell you this, you do know. It's just hidden under a bunch of diet history, probably a lot of self doubt, and a steady reliance on someone else to tell you what to do to lose weight. But Weight Loss Your Way teases through all of that and gets you back to your core or your center, the place where you know what you want, what you need, and the best way to get it. My job is just to help you get there and to help you cut through all that stuff that's just getting in your way. So, this journey will be a process for you. There's no steps one, two, and three that me or frankly anyone else can give you. You're literally going to be gluing the feathers on while you flap. And when you can finally kind of get your mind around that, you realize that weight loss isn't going to be hard anymore. It will be messy sometimes, but it doesn't have to be hard ever again because you will be in charge. And if something feels hard, you can pivot and try something else. It really is a beautiful thing when you take control of your process. All right. So, any good process starts with a plan, right? So, you're going to make a plan. And that's the topic for today, the daily food plan. Now, did you cringe or wrinkle your nose a little bit when you heard that? Maybe. Writing a daily food plan isn't hard, though. You're simply going to write down everything you think you will eat today. And here's where I want to be super, super clear. You're not writing a diet plan. You're going to put food on your plan that you will eat, not food that you think you should eat to lose weight. You're going to write down what you will eat. Your brain is going to have a fit. It will start judging everything and try to tell you that you're doing it wrong. Just let it keep having a fit and keep going. And if it helps, tell it to settle down a little bit and tell yourself, we're just trying something new. No big deal. You're never going to follow a plan that's not realistic, so make it real. And if you know, like for instance, if you know you're having pizza tonight, don't write down a salad because that's what you think you should eat. Write down the pizza. That's real. So plan it. All right. Don't get hung up on things like quantities in the beginning either. I am not an advocate of weighing and measuring and counting. Keep it simple. If you usually eat 3 slices of pizza, write 3 slices down. Don't bog yourself down with trying to figure out the carb count or the ounces of cheese on each slice. It's just not that important right now. You can make your plan any way you want. So you can divide it into meals and snacks, or just make a big list of the foods that you think you will be eating today. Lots of people overplan in the beginning, mostly out of fear of getting hungry. Thank you, diets. And that's okay. You don't have to eat everything you write down. The point is, you just want to be very intentional about what you will be eating in any given day. So, you're probably going to want to overthink this whole idea of a daily food plan. Most people do. And here's what I hear most often from my clients who started out with planning. And actually, these were all things I said too. I hear things like, I don't know what I'll want. I don't have time. Writing a plan feels restrictive. I don't know what's going to be on the menu, so how can I plan? All of this is just your diet brain throwing up a whole bunch of resistance. It's completely normal, but you need to cut it off at the pass. So let me debunk a few of these for you. So, that first one, I don't know what I'll want. You probably have a pretty good idea of what's available in your fridge and pantry right now. And you probably know roughly what your day is going to look like. So just write something down. Write a couple of options down if you can't decide on just one. Okay? The other one, I don't have time. Yes, you do. Writing a daily food plan shouldn't take any more than 2 to 5 minutes. If it's taking longer than that, you are definitely overthinking it. And then the third one, writing a plan feels restrictive. Well, it's actually the furthest thing from restriction. Remember, this isn't a diet plan. This is a realistic plan made up of foods you enjoy and you want to eat. If it feels restrictive, look at what you've planned and then make it more realistic. And then the last one, I don't know what they're going to be serving. Now, this one doesn't hold water these days. Most menus are online. Even if they're not updated regularly, you'll at least get a sense of what type of cuisine they might serve. And if you really don't know, be general. Write something down like protein, vegetable, and starch, or pasta and a salad. Generalize if you need to. The point is, write something down. Okay, so now that we got that part out of the way, why in the world am I suggesting a realistic daily food plan? This is super important, so I want to spend a few minutes here. It serves some really important purposes. First, it's going to require you to think about what you will eat and be very intentional about your choices. So if you start your day by writing out a plan before life gets in the way and takes away all of that clear, purposeful thinking that you have in the morning, you'll be able to get a plan written down with your best self in mind. Then, when life does start to get in the way, you have at least one less thing to think about. You've planned what you will eat that day, and by doing so, you've eliminated at least 3 decisions in your life. This was and still is a huge benefit for me because I rarely make intentional, purposeful food decisions when I'm tired or frustrated after a long day. Without a plan, it can be super easy to say, "To heck with it," in those situations, and then run through the drive through or make some other decision about food that just does not serve me well. Daily food planning doesn't happen by chance, it gives you a chance to show up for yourself when life happens. But the most important thing a plan does for you is it teaches you how to show up for yourself or to do what you'll say you'll do. That's why your plan has to be realistic. If it's realistic, you'll show up. If it's a plan full of food rules and food that you hate because you think you should be eating those things to lose weight, you're not going to do it long term, maybe not even short term. But with a realistic plan, your likelihood of showing up for yourself increases exponentially. Every time you show up for yourself, you get a win. String enough of those wins together, and you start getting momentum. And with strong momentum, you start to build confidence in yourself. And when that confidence takes hold, you keep going. You trust yourself and you get results. You can think of your daily food plan as your tether to your goals. You create it every day with your future self in mind. You do it from a place of love and respect for yourself, not punishment and resentment like most diets have made you feel. Do you see the difference? Daily food planning is self care, it's something you do for you and only you. Now, over time, your daily food plan is going to start to reveal some amazing data for you about your eating behaviors. So you'll be able to see all of your food stuff. You'll start to see patterns and you'll notice where eating off your plan or overeating happens and what's triggering it. That way, you can get to work on those things and solving the real problems because it's never just about the food. There's something going on in your thinking, and having this data is going to point that out to you. So let me give you an example of something my daily food plans revealed to me very early in my journey of losing 100 pounds. I was about 6 weeks into my journey, very new and on a huge high of consistent weight loss. I was probably around the 20 pounds or so lost mark, and I felt unstoppable. And then it happened. I had a week where I lost nothing, and then another week, and then a third week. I was crushed, and my diet brain jumped right into action. See, this was too good to be true. This always happens to you about this time. But then I remembered my coach saying that my plans were data that could help me figure out what was going on. So I pulled out my journal and I looked at my plans, and there it was, plain as day. The week that my weight loss stopped was the same week that my husband had a total knee replacement. My entire routine was upside down. I was eating on the run from the hospital cafeteria and drive throughs and all that. I was eating at unusual hours for me and at times that I wasn't even hungry, but I was worried that I wouldn't get a chance to eat when I needed to. And I was literally my husband's nurse, changing bandages, running back and forth with ice packs, helping him up and down. It was just exhausting. But when I looked at my plans, the most glaring, obvious thing I noticed was all the comfort food I had planned for that week: macaroni and cheese, pizza, casseroles, all the food I turn to when I need comfort or relief. Now, don't get me wrong, these are not bad foods. They're all the foods I include in my regular protocol even today, but not every day. But without even realizing it, I was planning to need comfort. I was planning on being in a place where I needed relief. And my daily food plans reflected that. So did the scale. So my daily food plan showed me that I tend to go on autopilot in times of uncertainty and upheaval, and my body just wants comfort. And that's some data I can work with. Now, knowing this, I was able to plan more intentionally when I'm out of my routine. I can still include my comfort foods if I want them, but I do it on purpose now, not on autopilot. And I learned this need for comfort I discovered doesn't always have to be fed by food. My daily plans showed me that I can just let life happen and that I have more control than I think I do. And just because I'm out of my routine, it doesn't mean I have to set aside my habits and processes. I just have to be very mindful and pivot because it's all temporary. So I truly don't think I would have ever put those pieces together if I didn't have those daily plans to go back and look at. Data is a gift, and your daily food plans can be the source of some of the best data you will ever have on this journey. So I get asked a lot, when's the best time to plan? So, like everything else in Weight Loss Your Way, it's up to you and what works best for you. But I recommend first thing in the morning. I like to make my coffee and sit on the couch with my journal and write my plan. Remember, 2 to 5 minutes. That's all it should take. Now, I know I'm at my best in those early hours of the morning. The day hasn't started to wear me down, and I can think with my best self in mind. And there's actual like scientific research that shows your brain is at its peak performance in the first few hours after you wake up. So take advantage of that time. Now, I've also tried planning in the evening for the next day, and this also works real well for me. But I found I just preferred to do it in the morning. The one benefit I found of planning in the evening is that I can get some input from my family. So I can ask them, what do you guys want for dinner tomorrow night? Who's going to be around for dinner? Or what's everybody's schedule? And then it'll help me kind of plan out how I want to think about dinner and that type of thing. So it's always helpful just to, when you can, get that kind of input if it matters to your planning. So like I said, sometimes it's just helpful to know so I could consider any changes to the routines because I know getting out of my routine can be tricky for me. So you need to do what works best for you. That's really the best answer. Try it both ways and don't overthink it. The important thing is that you just do it. Here is a big watch out though as you start this process. One word: perfectionism. It's going to try to sneak in and hijack your planning. But knowing this, that there's no such thing as a perfect plan, and it's impossible to perfectly follow your plan every day. Expecting perfectionism is just setting yourself up for failure. Our lives are complicated, and we can't always anticipate the curveball that's coming at us. There will be days that you wildly underplan your food and wind up eating more than you planned, and that's okay. Daily planning is a tool, but please do not use it as a hammer to beat yourself up when things get messy and fall apart, because it will happen. Planning should support you and be something that you can lean on when life feels hard. And so use it that way. Trust that planning is a way that you can have your own back. Nobody else is going to do that for you. And showing up for your plan every day is the best goal. And showing up means that when things don't go as planned, you're willing to ask why, investigate, be curious, and pick yourself up and keep going. So, in the beginning, your goal is to write a realistic plan, like I said in the beginning. That's it. Practice being intentional about what you eat. That's one of the reasons for the plan, to get really good at being very intentional about what you want to eat that day. The quality of your plan and your food choices is going to improve over time. Just like anything else you've ever had to practice before, you got really good at it. You'll start to see what foods work well in your body and what foods don't. And you'll find places where you might want to consider leveling up those choices. Your daily food plan will become your anchor, but you have to practice it every day. Now, a really good practice to get into is making some notes right on your plan, a little bit like an assessment. Maybe at the end of the day, take 5 minutes and just review your plan. How did it go? Did you plan enough? Did you plan too much? Make some notes about how you felt after you ate certain foods. If you noticed that they just didn't seem to feel that great in your body, how were you feeling? What were you thinking? All of those types of things can be great information. And if you just drop a few side notes on your plan, make it as messy as you want, put some post it notes in there if you have to. You're collecting data. And it, like I said before, it can be the single most effective tool that you have to figure out all of your food stuff. All right, so I have given you a lot to think about today, and I hope you're excited about developing this skill of a daily food plan. This might be the very first time you've ever really given this kind of thought to the food that you will eat. So try to approach it from curiosity and discovery. Remember, weight loss your way is a long game because that's how you create sustainable results. And planning is a tool that will make this process so much easier for you and more effective. I have planned every single day for the last 4 years. Seriously, every single day. My process of planning has evolved over time, and yours will too. But the one thing that has remained constant is that planning is the most important part of my process because it helps me stay accountable to me. It keeps me showing up for me every single day. All right, let's see what questions we have. Hold on one second. I want to move over to. Okay. So, first question is, when I don't follow my daily food plan, do I also write down the foods that I did eat? Great question. And yes, and in fact, I probably should have talked about that. That's a super good question. The answer is yes. I really think that that's another great point of data. So if you don't follow your plan, like I was just saying at the end of the day, jot down what you did eat. So you have something to reference and you can kind of see what was going on. Ask yourself those questions. Why did I make that different choice when I planned this thing? Was there something going on that triggered me? Did I just decide I didn't want that? All of it's okay. Don't be afraid of what you uncover, but certainly writing down what you actually did do versus what you said you would do is really important information, and it will help you refine your process over time. Let's see. Someone else says, now that it's summertime, I go to cold fizzy drinks. Should I be planning in these fizzy drinks even though I know that I shouldn't be drinking so much of it? So I'm assuming you mean like a soda, and it kind of sounds like maybe the full sugar kind, the regular kind versus diet. You can, yes. In fact, if you are drinking the sugar version, I think it's a great idea to plan that, especially if it's something that you want to, not that you feel like you should, but you want to dial back a bit. Plan when you will have them, like with a particular meal or a number of them that you'll have during the day. It's up to you, but it's really good information, again, especially if you're trying to dial that back a little bit. So you could certainly do that. All right. What if I don't enjoy planning? The idea of being and living spontaneously. This is a great one. This weekend, my friends are coming to visit, and I want to be free to join them in whatever happens. Well, I know this is hard to kind of get your head around, but you can still be spontaneous and still plan. So earlier on, I'd mentioned if you don't, like, if you're going out with your friends, you don't know where you're going to be, you don't know what you're going to eat, but maybe there's going to be alcohol involved. You can decide how many drinks you're going to have that night. You can also decide, again, maybe you don't know what restaurant you're going to, but you can decide that you're just going to listen to your body, and whatever you decide to eat, you'll stop when you feel like you've had enough. That can be your plan, or your plan could be as simple as, like I said, let me give an example. Let's see, maybe you're going out for Mexican food. You can decide that I'm going to have some chips and salsa, and then you can decide on what dish you might have, and then you can just make a rough plan. You can still be spontaneous and plan, because when you don't plan, like I mentioned before, you're leaving it up to chance. But even if you loosely plan, you're kind of creating something in your brain that says that, yeah, I'm in control, and even though I don't know exactly what's going to happen, I can figure out roughly what I want to do. And that's all it is. It's like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be exact. It's a practice. Let's see. So another question that I get quite often, um, is, where did it go? Here, or there it is. No matter what I plan, I always end up changing it or eating something entirely different from the plan. When this happens, and it may happen, especially as you get started, make sure your plans are realistic. Ask yourself, why are you changing? And you can also keep in mind that you're not writing a diet plan. You're plan the foods that you know you will eat. Now, I know it happens. Even if you plan something you know you will eat, it might get to lunchtime and you're thinking, ugh, I'd rather have something else. Well, you can do one of two things. You can intentionally make the decision to change and be okay with it and not beat yourself up later about it. Or you can just tell yourself, I'm just going to eat what I planned, and that thing I wanted right now, I'll put it on the plan tomorrow. Now, that's a little bit harder to do, and it requires you to be a little more purposeful and to kind of let go. But it's a great way to practice showing up for yourself. I get oftentimes, why does this plan feel so restrictive to me? That's likely because you're still thinking of it as a diet plan. And you need to be in charge of what you put on your plan. So you can literally put anything you want on the plan. So if it does feel restrictive, make sure that it is realistic. That's a really important point, because it's so easy to fall into that diet mentality and start putting all these things that you think you should be eating on there. And if you feel restriction, that's usually where it's coming from. Let's see. Oh, and then the last one, and I did already address this, but I think it's important and I want to say it again. How do you plan if you don't know what's going to be on the menu or what's going to be served? Again, if you're going to a particular restaurant, look online. That's a great place to start. Pick a couple of options to put on your plan. And then if you truly have no idea, like if you're going to a wedding or something like that, what's going to be served, you could just simply write maybe one appetizer and protein, vegetable, starch, or one dessert, whatever it is. Don't overcomplicate it. And if you feel like you want to kind of cover all your bases, do what I just described. Put down everything. I'll have an appetizer, I'll have my entree, and I'll have a dessert. And that's it. That's all you have to do is plan. You don't need to know specifically, because you always have two things with you. You have your brain and you have your mouth. And you can make decisions as they come, kind of on the fly. And you can decide if what they're serving is something that you want to eat. And if it's not, you can choose not to. And if it is, go ahead, enjoy it. But you always have those two things to carry around with you all the time. So trust your brain that it will guide your mouth appropriately. Okay. I think that is it. So one last thing I'd like to mention. Um, let's see. In terms of planning, I know lots of folks like a template or something to follow, and that's great. I'm a template person myself. But you can don't like I said, don't overcomplicate it. It could be as simple as a piece of paper. I have made a plan on the back of an envelope in a hotel room when I didn't have my journal with me. So it could be a notebook, it can be a plain piece of paper, a journal, anything that you want. But if you really want that template, I have one that I can share with you, one that I use. And I will ask if we can attach the link into the replay. But if you want it right away, the best way to get a hold of it is go on over to my podcast on Apple. Weight Loss Your Way is the name of the podcast, and it's episode 7, appropriately titled "The Daily Food Plan." And in the show notes, you can find a link to get the just a one-page um, template for doing a daily food plan. All right. So thank you everybody for listening. If this resonated with you and you want to dive deeper, feel free to book a Done with Diets call with me. I'd love to help you get started with this food planning process. And you can find that over at normafrahncoaching.com and then just click the Done with Diet buttons to get a spot in my calendar. All right. Have a beautiful day, everybody. And don't forget, go out there and pay it forward with some act of kindness today. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.